Tell It All interview right here on XYZ tonight with me, Prince Minka. And who's best fit to give us that interview and, of course, let us into that so-called confidential report by a French journalist with regards to whether or not it is indeed true that a French billionaire is monopolizing the Tema Port. And I'm referring to the retired Director General of the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority, Mr. Richard Anamo. He's our guest tonight here on the show. Remember, the show is live and interactive. You can join us with your messages on a WhatsApp line, which will be displayed on your screen shortly. And then you can also connect with us on Facebook. We're live on Xyz. We're also live on YouTube on Xyz. Make sure to hit the subscribe button if you join us on YouTube, and then you can also be a part of our various programming anytime we are on the air here on TV XYZ. My name is Prince Minka. It's good to have you sitting where you're seated, because look, you're going to be blown out of your seats as we're going to have a lot of revelation tonight in this particular conversation. Is there that monopoly from that businessman, that billionaire, that French billionaire at the Tema Port? That's what we are seeking to find answers to tonight on the program. And our guest is the retired Director General of the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority, Mr. Richard Anamo Esquire. Good to have you, Esquire. Good to see you. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm good, Prince. I'm good.
Awesome, awesome. Yes, and I'm sure we might be one of the few media houses that's managed to get you to come out of your,
one of the
your hiding place.
The very limited ones. Yes, that's correct.
And it's a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you.
So what's been the career path really to your retirement? Should we call it a retirement?
Yeah, as far as government service is concerned, yes. I've been there for over 30 years, and once the law says that once you reach 60 years, you should hand over to the next generation. And I think that's what exactly I reached. And so the next generation should continue, but not retire in life. No, we've got a lot of experience that we'll be able to share for those who are behind us.
Yep. Before we even get into this controversial report, I mean ministerial report, and of course it's carved out of a news report.
Yeah.
And that points out to the fact that a French billionaire is monopolizing the Tema Port. Even before we get there, just tell me about the Tema Port. What do you really miss about the place at this moment, really?
Missing is probably not the correct way to say. I would say sad, in the sense that I've been a baby of the port right from university. I went into the Tema Port and started working as national service. And I've been in Tema Port for some years, went down to Takoradi Port, came back to headquarters. So I've grown throughout my active life, basically at the seafront, at the port services. And therefore, I've always seen the port as my father and my mother. That's true that I got married, got children and all that. And therefore, I see it as a home. And therefore, I treat it as though it was my personal property, And
so you're passionate?
I'm very passionate about
anything that's related to Tema Port?
Yes, because I came in at the time when the port was really in very bad shape. Yes.
How bad was it?
It was too bad. In the early 80s, there were a number of sunken vessels. The whole port was full of, we had about 139 sunken vessels, both Tema and Takoradi Port. If you recall, I don't know how old then you were, but the Baxter Line vessels, most of them were sunk inside the port. A lot of our old GPA craft, that was Ghana Ports Authority.
Yes.
Craft, tugboats, other marine craft sunk inside the port. Most of the structures were old, the cranes were old. So it was, at that time, in a very terrible state.
So on retirement, looking back, what can you boldly say is your biggest achievement?
My biggest achievement has been, one, to bring IT into GPHA. Yes. To let the staff feel and understand that they work to pay themselves. Yes, they work to pay themselves.
It wasn't like that before.
No, it was more like, you see, there's a difference between working to pay yourself,
yes, than
going in and looking for opportunity to steal. The two are completely different.
Explain the latter.
Yeah, the latter is that you are not concerned with how much input you are making. You are more concerned with what is available for you to take away. Yes, so you don't give regard to how much you get at the end of the month. What can you do to improve the conditions of your own working life? So it's more focused on whatever, cement, procurement materials and all that, spare parts. You are looking at what you can, and so by imported goods, you are taking them away. Yeah.
And so by bringing in the IT element,
yeah.
Are you suggesting to us that you've been able to limit these?
Well, the IT element came in, one, to reduce cost drastically, to let the person understand that whatever he is doing, it can be done much better, that it can be done faster, that the next level of development is that you must go IT. That your generation that is coming after you, without IT will not survive. That the performance of the port authority relative to other port authorities will depend on how much efficient they are. And that efficiency depends on to what extent are you capable of seeing ahead of you what you are supposed to do using the IT system. It's not just the clerks sitting in the office and typing and those sort of things. That in those days, people were more concerned with, oh, I mean, the lady, the secretary, and the typist, and he's typing. So IT was looked at from that angle. But no, you've got to understand that even the security man has got to be very efficient with IT.
Okay.
The operations man should be efficient with IT. The crane operator should be efficient with IT. The vehicle driver should understand that whilst he is driving, if he is at Makasim, okay, or in Kitampo, the guy sitting in the office can see him wherever he is.
Right, very well.
Yes.
With this background, and I'm sure, I mean, with your legal background, you will understand what I'm driving at.
That's right.
Clearly, just to give our viewers a little background to the controversial report, let's just do this as we show you bits and pieces of the report. Just enjoy the sites, and you'll love it. It's looking really good these days. And this special report is accusing Balor, who is a billionaire, by the way, a French billionaire. Bellori, of underhand dealings by using his firm Bellori Africa Logistics to win contract to run a container terminal at the Tema Port through a 70% joint-owned venture between Ghana's government and Meridian Port Services. That's MPS. We'll get to that shortly. And it follows what government has touted to be a secret Ghanaian ministerial report, was cited a lack of transparency and ethical discipline in the deal, recommending that the contract must be immediately renegotiated because it was so titled against Ghana's interests. And as you can see there on your screens, those are bits and pieces of the report there. But Esquire, just help us understand on the issue of this Africa Confidential publication. Who is MPS and how did they get into the Ghana maritime industry as we are building the point and getting to the report?
Yeah. MPS, we can trace MPS back to the early 2000s. MPS is not a company that existed anywhere. No. It was created in Ghana here. And in the early 2000s, we embarked on a program to expand Tema Port as the beginning, before going into Takoradi and what have you. And so we first went and got some money together, which was in the Audit Grant Facility, to dredge the port, and had a program to extend the then key, what we call, I'm trying to avoid using technical words, where the vessels normally come to bed, to extend the quay by 200 meters. All of that was done by GPHA. And we had planned all this and intended to use it as a landing point, a starting point, to take off with the massive expansion that has now come to fruition.
Yes.
That was then in the Rawlings period,
regime, yeah.
NDC. Okay. Then everything had been prepared. Tender process, everything going. Then there was change of government. Okay. When there was change of government, the new government under Kufuor came in, and from nowhere one day they came and said, hey, all that you're doing, stop it. There's going to be a company called MPS, and they're going to take 30% shares, period. So
whatever projection you had,
everything stopped.
Wow.
Yes. How they arrived at the 30% shares, why, who, we didn't know. There was nothing in writing to anybody. And as we sit here today, there's nothing in writing from anywhere.
MPS?
Yes. It was just, announcement at the management
meeting. So it was just thrusted in the system
right.
like that?
Wow. Yeah. But the MPS, by that time, it means they had already formed it, of course, going through the legal process, registered it with the Registrar General, which we later on found out that it was, there's a Bolore Group,
yes,
Masculine APM, then we had some other three Ghanaians, one Mr. Annan, and then one Michael Wilson, and some other Ghanaian as well. They took the 30% shares. Gave GPH 30% shares and took the remaining 70% shares. That is how MPS came in, full stop. That's all.
In the case of Bolore, I'm sure that there are some of my viewers, I'm sure this may be the first time hearing of Bolore. Who's Bolore and what's Bolore? Well, who exactly is Bolore, and how are they involved in this West African maritime trade, including Ghana? As been suggested here.
Yeah, Bolore has its origins from France. It's basically a French company. And I think the promoter decided to take a risk in West Africa, and came into West Africa and started doing a whole lot of logistics. I want to say logistics, movement of cargo to the ports. And of course, there are a number of West African ports, Abidjan, Togo, Benin. So that is where they started, gradually entering into the system. And I think that they did so well, and they were prepared to spend some money, to invest in infrastructure, to invest in logistics in terms of trucks, haulage systems, and what have you. And I think that was the beginning of Bolore coming into the system as far as the history goes. And I think in doing that, they really helped in moving the cargo, the imported cargo, export cargo, not only within the coastline, but also, of course, our French countries up north, Mali, Niger, all these. They were able to infiltrate into all these sort of areas. Then, of course, Ghana, when our economy picked up and all that, being business people, they also ventured into Ghana. And that's
what was it about Ghana? Okay, you said our economy, but what was the unique selling proposition for Ghana? What was so unique about Ghana that attracted Bolore to Ghana?
Well, Ghana has...
Or they just felt, look, Ghana's economy is looking good, let's just come in.
No, they were basically into the area of maritime and logistics.
Yes.
Okay, maritime and logistics. I want to say maritime in terms of foreign trade in and out. Okay, and in doing that, as far as Bolore was concerned, is the fact that at least they were looking at population growth, volumes of consumption, and if you take the west coast of Africa, Ghana's consumption is on the high side. Okay, even though we can talk of Burkina Faso and all these other countries, Ghana's consumption is on the high side. Of course, don't forget that our living standards are high. Our taste for foreign goods is very high. It's extremely high.
Yes.
Our educational level is very high. So everything connected with Ghana was really on the high side.
Yes.
And there were all indications that our economy was also moving on the right path. And therefore, naturally, it attracted any serious investor.
Okay.
And then most serious investor in the maritime to get involved in Ghana.
For the purposes of clarity, Bolore was coming in as what?
Was coming in as a logistic provider. Yeah, basically, in the transit trades. That's between Ghana, Mali, Ghana, Burkina Faso. That was where they started in. But they've been doing that on the low key. But when it came down to the port, they were then prepared to invest in infrastructure.
Tell us about the processes that led to the agreement. I mean, the understanding that, look, Bolore, this is it. Come do this for Ghana or right here in Ghana.
Yeah. So that traces us back, sends us back to what I was talking about in the early 2000s. Yes. So by 2004, the then government entered into an agreement with MPS, where they formed this consortium. The MPS had GPHA as 30% shareholder, together with the others as other shareholders. And the objective was to pump in money to develop that key infrastructure. Just extend the key, make it that to come to 500 meters, and provide all the necessary logistics to handle containers. And therefore, by 2004, they signed the first concession agreement. That gave them the opportunity to develop that terminal and use it for container handling.
Okay.
And that got that is how they came in. Then, as they progressed, subsequently, that's, of course, MPP left power. We came back in 2009, and that is where we lifted it to the next level.
When you say we, you mean the NDC?
NDC, yes.
Under the Mills administration, and subsequently Mahama.
Yeah.
Right.
We then lifted it to the next level.
Okay, so the next level is where the report focuses.
Exactly.
It actually talks about the MPS project, which is the subject of the publication.
Exactly, yes.
Exactly what is the project, and if we look at the objective of the project and its expectation into the future, reconcile it for me and give us that picture.
That project, I would say, is was a very ambitious project. A project that is intended to send the country to the next level as far as maritime is concerned. We are blessed as a country with an entire coastline, which is not engineering technical wise. We are blessed in the sense that our coastline is either sandy or rocky. It's not mud. So when you are doing any engineering work, it may appear to be expensive. Of course, you've got to cut rock, but the advantage is that you do not have settlement problems. In the muddy areas, you have to sink piles deep, and the foundation becomes difficult. So we had this coastline. So we came out with the idea that, look, since Kwame Nkrumah's days in 1960, we have had a thermal port. At that time, what was our population? Well, less than 10 million, I believe. Our population is growing now. We've got about 30 million. Integral report started in 1928. As at in 1957, it was still the same thing. There was a need for us to change, to harness the opportunities. So we came up with the idea that, look, let's go into the open sea, get out there, send the breakwater into the sea, right? Reclaim portions of the sea, create into deeper beds, create a lot more land space, so that the entire project will give us at least about 17 beds. 17 beds. And that's the first beds. When I say beds, I'm talking about places where the vessels can come along and tie up for operation. But apart from that, the port itself, since 1960, the maximum depth was 9.6 meters. When I say that, that's how much water is available. It was just about 9.6 meters. So there was a need for us to see how we could change that seriously. And by 2007, when MPS-1 came, we had dredged that place to 11.5 meters. And that was still just sufficient to take what we call the first generation of container vessels. That's about 11.5 meters thereabout. This time, we wanted to bring the vessels up to the 4th and 5th generation vessels. Vessels that could come with about 300 and something meters long. Vessels that could come, handle containers across their width of about 21 containers. Vessels that will come that you will need several cranes to operate on. Vessels that will come and carry several hundreds of thousands of containers.
So that was the ambition?
That was the ambition. To bring in bigger vessels. Not only just 1 or 2 bigger vessels, but a lot more vessels That's number one. That's as far as container is concerned. Then also create the opportunity for other companies to come in.
Yes.
It's not just MPS. We have a whole number of other shipping lines. MSC is there.
Yes.
Mole is there. Hapag, Costco, you name them. They're all looking for space. And none of these are available in the west coast of Africa. You know, and these are the people who control the maritime industry as far as traffic is concerned. We needed to create space for them to come in. We also needed to look at how we can create space for bulk cargo handling. You know, rice, sugar, cement factories. Then you come into the oil industry. We need to create space that we could have even the repair of rigs and all that. These were all parts of the whole game. So all of that went into the issue of the new Terminal 3.
Right.
Terminal 3, big enough to take the bigger vessels into the next generation, big enough to have several other vessels, you know, and big enough that at least the next 100 years, we can remain competitive along the west coast of Africa.
So that's the whole idea.
That's the whole idea.
But going back to the report,
yes.
I mean, it mentions the fact that Ghana's equity in MPS was somehow superstitious. No, I mean, not using the words. I mean, surprisingly, cut from the initial agreed 30 to 15%. Tell me more about it. I really want to know. I mean, and before you even get into that, again, I ask, what was the target or the expectation of the new investor? And in this case, I'm referring to MPS reconciling it with Bolloré.
Now, the investor basically was MPS, which included GPHA.
Okay. And where does Bolloré come in?
Bolloré is a shareholder.
MPS?
Yes.
Of MPS.
But, Bolloré doesn't own MPS.
Okay.
It's a shareholder. Okay. And we have AP
How
Muller.
much shares does he have?
Inside it, I think they might be holding in the region of 30 or something like that, because they have to divide.
Is he a majority shareholder?
If you redistribute, yes. It could be the majority shareholder.
Is that the reason they say he's monopolizing the price?
No. That you cannot look at that and say it's a monopoly. No.
Okay.
Because when you talk of monopoly, it's like saying that, hey, all others cannot do it except you. All others will not be allowed to do it except you. Laws have been passed that restrict others except you. And that is not the situation that we have.
Okay.
But let's get back to
the specifics.
The specifics,
yes.
You know. Bolloré was in there as just a shareholder for that whole enterprise, and the purpose of it was for the team as MPS to mobilize the necessary resources, you know, to bring in the necessary capital, and that is where they came in and said, look, they provide the finance. That's the other 70% shareholders. They provide all the financing to finance that project. Remember, GPHA was going into this project in the first place in a way that originally that we're going to go in for first, go on tender, right? Go on tender to get a contractor, and go on the second tender to get an operator.
Okay.
No, that's what is missing in all this. Yeah, that it was not like GPHA was going in for the tender to just somebody had money that you come and construct, and then GPHA will take over. No, because you needed to operate the facility and be able to generate resources. You know, because the construction is one thing, equipping is another, and you needed to get an operator who is prepared to invest in all the other things apart from just the basic construction. It was these two steps that we had to set aside, and because MPS was already an operator in the port, and therefore we could just amend their concession agreement to proceed with that whole phase. So those are, before we get to the nitty-gritties of the conditions of the shareholding and whatever. Yes.
And so why would the report express that element of shock with regards to the equity of
the equity
in MPS?
Yeah, sorry. The equity issue was purely an administrative error. It wasn't a legal error. It was an administrative error.
Administrative error.
Yes, in the sense that...
Did it have any consequential effect?
Well, I would say, I mean, it's to the extent that it was still being held, it will have a financial effect on GPHA. Okay? But that is, when I say administrative error, in the sense that the shareholders met. When I say shareholder, that is because you have the board of NPS and the shareholders of NPS. The two are separate entities, yeah. So the shareholders met and agreed that all the funding was going to be provided by the other shareholders with a sovereign guarantee. Okay? That was agreed in writing,
yes.
Signed. Now, then subsequently, the board met, and the board met and was supposed to sign and adapt and agree, no, endorse, I'm trying to get it correct, implement the decisions of the shareholders.
Right.
Okay, so those letters were written intended to implement the decisions of the shareholder. For some funny reason, some 1 or 2 sentences were put in there that indicated that GPHA will dilute their shares by 15%.
Was it deliberately done? It's a funny reason.
Yeah, it was. I was to those who wrote it. Of course, it was intended to force GPHA, you know, to contribute towards the funding, and we had insisted that we will not contribute. Okay.
Had there been a conversation around that?
Yeah, yes.
You had insisted you wouldn't.
Yeah, we insisted.
But there were people with views that it was important for GPHA to contribute. Would that be the reason for which someone would, in a funny way?
No, it was just between the shareholders.
Okay.
Because we were saying that the mere fact that we have given you additional concession, you know, because you are moving from 2 beds to 4 beds. Okay? The old beds was just 2 beds, which is about 500 meters. The new beds was 1.4 kilometers, 1,400 kilometers. You were moving from, I think, 20 acres or something to about 100 and something hectares of land.
Right.
You're moving from 11.5 meters to 16 meters. Okay, we're moving from 20 years to 30 something years.
Right.
So we had given you additional facilities, as a result of which, you know, the fee that you are supposed to pay to us is what we are using to contribute. So we will not contribute again. That was the principal argument. So this argument among the shareholders went on, and eventually they had to accept it, and that was sealed in writing. Unfortunately, this was written. And my managers at that time didn't, for funny reasons, read. It's like you go for meetings and you believe that you read the first statements and you believe that okay, everything is all right. Then you go to sign. No, a single paragraph
had changed.
Had changed at the bottom somewhere. You know, it's just like normally when you get into some of these procurement, you know, they put a small line.
But here we are. It's here we are. A damning revelation.
Yeah, revelation. Yeah,
that has an effect on the image of
yes.
managing.
But since then, it's
how does that hit you, really?
No, when I got to, when we got to know about it, it was very bad. We wrote, put it in writing to NPS to reverse it, and they would have reversed it. Yes. They would have reversed it. If I had not left office, they know that they would have reversed it.
Interesting.
Yes.
Well,
because they know that the thing is, we are the landlord. GPHA is the landlord. Okay, you are a tenant, and if you refuse to comply with the orders of the landlord, what do?
Clearly, I mean,
you could be ejected. Exactly. Yeah. Yes. You could be ejected.
So in this case?
Yes. And so in that, and that was, don't forget that this was before the construction even got started.
Right.
Yes. So it was just for them to, we had written to them, and they knew very well that if they didn't, we would not send vessels to that place.
So clearly it was corrected.
They didn't, if they were in that process before there was.
So that's the reason it's in this report.
Yeah, that's the reason it's in this report.
Anyway.
So the new administration of mine, the one who took over me, capitalized upon it, tried to make so much propaganda around it and all those sort of things, but eventually they succeeded in smoothing it out. And I think the 30% has been, it had nothing to do with central government.
Okay.
It had nothing to do with JDM. It had nothing to do with NDC. In fact, it had nothing to do with even GPHA board. And I dare say, it even had nothing to do with the Director General.
Very well. We'll come to the things that they say has a lot to do with the Director General.
Sure.
Then that's you.
Yeah.
And of course the NDC. There was a mention of His Excellency John Dramani Mahama somewhere in that particular report. We'll be coming to that conversation shortly. You're still watching XYZ Tonight. It's a Teletor interview. We are doing this with the former Director General of the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority. That's him right there in your shot. We'll be back shortly. Stay with us.
The average human body mass should have at least 60% water for optimal performance in any physical or mental exercise. We can help you maintain it naturally. X Natural Mineral Water. Simply natural.
I love makeup. Applying it gives me so much joy. But when it's time to take it off, nothing does the job quite like the Black Secret Makeup Wipes. When I go somewhere and I feel really sweaty, I take my Black Secret wipe and I use it on my face. It picks me up and I don't look as tired as I did when I walked in.
Before I work on a client's face, I like to go over it with Black Secret makeup wipes to make sure the face is clean. It doesn't leave the face dry and tight, but it keeps it soft and moisturized.
Wipe say your bodo.
Bakope, and it gets the job done. Or baby, and the smell makes the experience even better.
Is a retired Director General of the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority. Is our guest, Mr. Richard Anamo is our guest tonight here on XYZ Tonight on TV XYZ. Some of your messages coming through, by the way, as we go through this controversial report and raise some of the critical issues and get him to clear the air. This one here says, well, I wanted to ask how much it takes to, no, we are not premiering videos here. This message here says, good evening to you, Prince. Thank you for bringing the former Director General, Mr. Anamo, and God bless himself and John Dramani Mahama for the great work they did as far as MPS is concerned and Temaport is concerned. And please stop calling the line so that we will be able to read your messages. This one here says, good evening, Prince. In fact, he is ambitious, and these are the men we need in this country. Visionary, truthful, nation builders. Ghanaians do not want good things to hear, and that's the reason these men are usually pushed out because of politics. We need him back. That's a message coming in there from one of our viewers. This one here says, MPS didn't help Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority. The former DG has collapsed the port with MPS. Come to port, a lot of people are unemployed, and a number of terminals are collapsing. Example, TCT, ACS, and other companies that we can cite in a port. That's a clear allegation. We can talk about,
I know.
How do you respond to that? I mean, just briefly before we go back.
Yeah, the thing is that in every situation that you go into, when you start, for example, opening up the road between here and Kumasi into 4 lanes, some people will lose their jobs.
Yes.
That is bound to happen. All those who had kiosks and shops along that line will certainly fall off. At that time, there was no road, so they could come and build. That's the same thing. TCT and all the ACS,
yes.
At that time, the port didn't have capacity. There was no space enough for the port, inside the port. So the port encouraged private people to send the containers outside into their terminals to deal with. Now, GPHA through MPS has not got enough capacity, so much space You know, we talk about hectares of land, and that's just MPS. They should remember that we have 30 more beds to go, and each of these is in hundreds of meters. There is no way any other private terminal will be sitting outside GPH, outside the confines of the harbor. So the argument of job losses? No. I mean, the MPS currently has got about over 2,500 workers. MPS itself, as of now, has got about 570 permanent staff, and over 2,500 who are working there, in addition to a whole lot of other people. The containers, MPS, they just started operating at somewhere last year or thereabouts. Yes. And they've already hit 1 million TEUs. This was expected to be reached somewhere. 1 million TEUs. Yeah, 1 million containers. They've exceeded that, yes. And this was expected that by maybe in the next 2 or 3 years. They've already hit it because of the new facilities. All these containers, all these facilities are being worked on by what? Ghanaians. The cranes that are operating, 19, 20 cranes, the rig stackers, and all of that you see, have been operated by Ghanaians. You know, so you are giving employment, a lot more employment to people. I'm seeing some questions, especially from Kapsi from Monsieur German, who's asking about whether there was a succession plan that would have aided your successor in order to be able to implement some of your ideas. But we'll get to that. So let's you know that. We'll get to it. Yeah, no, we can. No, I mean, I just want to say that's the unfortunate thing about the politics. Now, here's a case where we were dealing with. We're not just dealing with Taba Port. You go to Takoradi. We're expanding Takoradi Port, changing Takoradi Port from 1920 to the current level and beyond. And I was called in the morning at sunrise to leave the office before sundown the same day. Oh. Yes. I was called in the morning, sunrise, leave that office before sundown the same day. Reason? Reason is that they don't need you. That's the change of politics. Full stop. They don't need you? Yeah, they said, I mean, full stop, that's all. And here you were, I mean... They were not concerned with whether you are doing Terminal 3 or Takoradi Port or whatever it is. Another person can come and do the same thing. So you were hounded out? I would not say hounded, I was instructed to go. Just like that? Yeah, for sure. Had you reached the retirement age then? No, I had to, retirement, yes. I had retired 2016. Yes. But they because of this project, I asked me to continue for the next 2 years. Okay, so yes. So they needed to have you there because of institutional. Yeah, to implement all this. Yeah, and institutional. And you think that if you had still been around, you would have been able to progress more than what we are seeing. More than what we are seeing today. Of course, certainly. Yeah, because as I said in some place, see, you always have to go into the mind of the dreamer. Or, I mean, what did you think? What was in your mind when you were doing certain things? And if all of a sudden there's an abstract then of course you lose sight of what was he thinking about when he started some of these things. Why did we put a port terminal there? Why did we do that? There are reasons for some of these things, you know. So if you push all of those things aside, then you now have to come in and start asking yourself, well, this is not good, this is not good. Why did we build the hospital? Why did we build the hospital? Yes. Why did we have to buy drones? We bought drones, we ordered for drones that will be staying in the air. That could stay in the air for 26 hours. You know what that means? Tell us. That drone is staying in the air, and transmitting all information. The issue is to make sure that our waters are safe. It transmits information so that piracy. You see, when the pirates come in to take a vessel, they normally go in, and when they go in, they seize and the vessel from the people. They switch off all their communication gaggers. So there's no way you can see anything from them. But with this drone up there, they will see them. So the shipping lines will get to know that, oh, there's a certain haven here. So it will attract them into that zone. Okay, that alone will generate revenue. So this is what was in the mind of the dreamer. But let me ask you this, and it's an important question to ask at this point as we progress as a nation which dreams to become one of the best in terms of the practice of democracy. Anytime there's a change in government, this event, I mean this situation with regards to yours, seemed to be the order of the day. There's that sudden
change in that person who perhaps was pushing an agenda to raise the bar in terms of the development of an SOE, a government institution, a state institution. They're sometimes hounded out of their offices. In your case, you were instructed. Is it a good thing for Ghana?
I mean, it's the worst thing that can happen to our country, especially for us as a... You see, remember, I like that word developing country. And I used to tell my staff that we are a developing country. It means, as far as I'm concerned, every part of Ghana is a construction yard. I repeat that. Every part of Ghana is a construction yard. It's a construction yard. Until we reach that level that we are developed, in which case it means we have finished and we have passed on. So we move away from the construction to usage. You see, there are certain institutions that are critical. ECG, VRA, Tamale Refinery, Ghana Airport, GPHA, and some of these areas, and GRA, you know, these are areas that you don't just get up one afternoon and bring somebody from America or somewhere to come and sit here as a CEO. Or you don't even just go in and pick somebody because he has a party card. Whether it's NDC or NPP, it doesn't matter. But you just pick the person to the top and put him there. No.
Okay.
So it is that which is create a problem for all of us.
What would it take? Yeah. What would it take for that trend to come to an end? What would it take
it will, one, it's a question of the leadership. Okay, it's a question of the leadership. I mean, who is the president and who are the political, what they are thinking about. Because when the country, when the situation is good, it needs the benefit of everybody.
That's right.
So we will commit all these errors, and I'm sure it will take some time, because currently, like what we are experiencing now.
If you do a projection, how long would it take?
I would say probably in the next 15 to 20 years or 25 years.
Before the straight
before this, yeah.
Amazing.
Because the thing is that it's like people are currently, you know, and it is not just the Port Authority. I mean, you can see what's happening in the police. I mean, for all these years, we have had very good police service, very good armed forces. That you go in and you go in and go in for the examination. And it's announced, you all go in and they test you. I've tried it before, you know. And all of a sudden now, people are going into the military, how they go in, nobody knows. You no longer have intake this, intake that, and that sort of thing. Even in GPHA, one way, in the security people, we put it out there. And then they go in, they come out in the stadium. Now, it's a different story.
Okay.
So these things will continue to happen, and that is very, very sad.
Let me quickly link the question I asked to what Kapsi from Yaman is demanding that you answer to. He says, I mean, what did Paul Ansa, who took over from Esquire, do with regards to the MPS deal? What did he do?
Well, when he took over, I think sadly, I mean, it's very unfortunate, because he was a staff who was in there. He took it and then tried to swing this 15% thing as if it was politically motivated or something like that, and sang a song all over the place about it was a bad agreement, and it's a bad agreement, and all those sort of things, without really addressing the administrative. It was because the documents were there, you know. And I had the fortune of meeting him directly, and I said, look, Paul, forget about all these sort of things. Just tell NPS, follow that letter, instruct them. Give them an ultimatum to reverse it. Failure which you stop them, because you had the landlord, you had the power. Listen, in the port, the vessels are brought in by the Port Authority.
Right.
They are brought in by the Port Authority. So you have that capacity to say, you don't go begging anybody. No, you don't go begging. You don't go begging MPS. No, you can't do that. You don't want to go to court. But remember, when you go to court, what do? While the court is in process, you have to stop working. Because the court will not tell GPHA to stop working. Yes. No. You are the litigant.
Yes.
And you are a tenant, so you will stop working.
It becomes a vacuum.
I mean, what Paul did was, I would say, very childish. And I'm sure today he's regretting for that sort of thing. Well, he gave it too much. I think he was trying to please his political masters and all those sort of things, you know. Because he never had the opportunity, the strength to come and ask him that, look, let me call me Ray, I mean, or DG, what is it? Because he worked under me.
Right.
Yeah, he worked under me. And I mean, there's a lot that I can talk about. We knew his political career, but we were together.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
So you knew his political career?
We knew political career. He knew I knew.
Wow.
His political career, yes. But I treated him as a Ghanaian.
Did you sense any form of sabotage when you were the DG at Ghana Ports and Harbors Authority? Do you sense that? And I'm asking this question because of how you were instructed to leave office. I'm sure it hurts you.
Yeah, it hurts me as a Ghanaian.
Yes.
It hurts me as a Ghanaian. It hurts me because that was my second coming. Okay, that was my second coming. It hurts me because here's a case where we were dealing with very, very sensitive matters. Things that are going to MPS today is not engaging NDC staff. It's not engaging a particular. It's engaging Ghanaians who are working in there. It's not JDM who's inside there working. It is not Mr. Adamo's brother or sister who's inside there working. No. All the things that we have done in Takoradi and all that is all for the benefit of our country, Ghana. And so it really hurts when they came up with all these kind of things, get out and get out and get out. And I think, as I said...
But was there a situation of sabotage?
Sabotage?
Yes or no?
No, that was, yes. There was, yes. I mean, it was masterminded by some people who came in staff, who came to be working as a union, but they were really political union.
Wow.
Yes, I mean they were union in they were politicians in unionship. Union cover. You know that's what.
And they were backed by what authority?
Of course, they were backed by political authority. Otherwise, they didn't have. I mean, but for the politics, why they tried to repeat the same thing to the current government, and they were nearly dismissed. They sent them home for 6 months. You see, yes. But at that time, when they did that to me, because it suited them, they didn't say anything. Because you cannot, as a staff, go about and make a public press conference, attacking your management and all those sort of things. And to the extent of saying that GPHA can pay for SS, and GPHA can pay for this campaign. I mean, it was making it look like GPHA can run the rest of the country.
Right.
Now, who took a union staff?
Anyway,
yes.
let's quickly get back to the controversy.
Okay, sure. Right,
just briefly, because I'm getting tons of messages with people demanding that before you step out of the studio, you should be able to clear the air with regards to the Temamoto Way expansion project.
Sure.
Who should be credited with it? Don't answer that yet. But in that report, in that controversial report, we saw the name of His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. And I'm reading bits and pieces of it. I mean, in paraphrasing, it goes to suggest that the administration then backed you to breach some procurement laws.
No.
True or false?
False. We didn't breach any procurement law in the first place. No. Everything went according to plan. Where in scheme, the intention was to get a very good contractor and a very good operator. Now, we reached a certain stage. In the first place, when we started, MPS was already working with GPHA. Okay? They had an existing concession agreement. They had done some work and were operating a terminal. Ours was to look at how to move from that terminal to a bigger terminal. And therefore, they were given the opportunity. And they said no. They felt that it was not going to be feasible. But when they sat back and later on realized that, hey, we're going ahead with the project, then they stepped in and said, look, okay, we are prepared to come with you. As an inducement, we are prepared to do whatever thing that you want us to do extra. And one of them was the motorway.
Oh.
The motorway.
The motorway expansion.
Yeah, the motorway, because we put in as part of our major projects. And we're confronting the motorway in two directions. The medium to short term, or the short to medium term, and the long term. The short to medium term is to take it from Tetakwashi right down to Tema, okay, through the hospital route, straight to the new port. That is the short to medium term. The long term is to take it from Tetakwashi right down to Klagwan area and cut straight to Sakumono into the new terminal.
Wow.
Yes. So that you don't have, and that was going to be dedicated to to traffic. Because see, we envisage that by the time that terminal gets its full capacity, the Meridian Road will be too small.
And so in terms of who dreamt, who made the moves in terms of securing funding and starting that project, which administration should be credited? The Akufo-Addo administration or the Mahama administration?
It's certainly Mahama administration, 100%. Because we did everything. At the time that we left office, we had finished everything about the motorway. We had discussed several times with Ghana Highway Authority, the Minister of Roads and Highways, how it's going to be 3-lane. The concept designs had been done. MPS has spent money to do all the geotechnical investigation. I mean, download how some of the sketches. Everything had been done. What was left was we had moved away from big English, so to speak, to practical implementation. Yes. So there was nothing left except for MPS to implement that.
So were you surprised? I mean, because going into the elections, it became an issue of controversy that I'm sure you heard that narrative that it could be credited to the Akufo-Addo administration.
No.
It's one of the achievements.
No.
How did it hit you when you heard that?
I mean, it was like people who can see far, people who are always interested in what is happening now. Now is that it's happening and I am on top. But if they go back and look at, because we did it, the first stage was to do the clearing, if you recall, Mama even commissioned that one.
Yes.
Where that was the first basic stage to remove those bottlenecks to enable traffic be able to carry cargo, construction material for the port expansion. Okay, that was just the first stage, and then the rest of the job would. But for the change, what we have in the Tema roundabout, it has been a different thing altogether.
Not what we have.
No. So
what we have currently
it's supposed to be different layers.
So what we have currently is a complete.
It's a complete because already before we left office, the Japanese had started to do some kind of funding.
Yes, JICA.
Yes. All of that. I mean, I took part in it. I met the JICA team several times. So everything had been signed, and they were then going through the studies and all those sort of things. Whilst we were parallel dealing with our own design, and that was to take it from Tetekwashi right down to the port. Yeah. So what they came to do was just to complete, and of course, you take it in, and then maybe we don't know what happened. Probably they were cut down or did reduction in capacities and all those sort of things. And of course, people do simulations and say, "Oh, if you do this, it is all right for the meantime. Maybe it will take us another 5 to 10 years and that sort of thing." But at times, those projections can be really very unfortunate.
Okay, it looks like we're about wrapping up, though.
Wow.
And in wrapping up, just again back to the controversy, the tax evasion, and then the issue about the report, of course, talking about the NDC government varying the concession period from 30 to 35 years.
That is all rubbish. That is all rubbish. I mean,
how should we see the report?
You see the report as a very good report. Which report are you talking about?
No, I'm talking about the controversial report.
No. That is rubbish.
How should we treat it?
It's just treated as one of those stories that you get one day, you read it, and after you throw it in the dustbin. We'll stop.
So it's complete false.
It's false. There's nothing inside there. As I said, there's nothing that is confidential. There's nothing that is news. There's nothing that is wet. Why
are you defending Bolori?
No, I'm not defending. I'm stating facts. I mean, it's a fact. It's a fact that Bolori has been in West Africa. There's no government that has denied any other company, for example, British company, coming to work in West Africa. There's no. We have not denied anybody. Let's assume that. I mean, Bolori was for French, but where's the British counterpart? Okay, forget about Bolori.
Yes.
Where is the British one? There's none. So I mean, you don't. I mean, when these are facts that we have to face, So the issue of 35 years and all that, right from the very beginning, we said we were expanding it, and we had 35 years concession. The original concession was for 20 years.
Wow.
The original concession was for 20 years. As at the time we were signing the agreement in 2015, they had about 9 years left.
Wow.
Okay. And at that time, even for the 20 years, it was only for 2 beds of 500 meters.
Yes.
We did this one for 35 years. 35 years, starting from the day they start operation, that's 2019.
Right.
Okay. And that one is for 1.4 kilometers with an extended, with a capacity to bring in 13 more beds in deeper water, 16 meters. You are talking about 2 different things. Nowhere in the agreement, nowhere in an earlier agreement was it 30 years. There's nothing like that. It never existed.
Okay, very well. Let me bring in some message. You've got 2 minutes to wrap up.
Right.
It says, good evening. Please ask the former DG, the Etobu Freeport, and ask him about it and how the project has been halted till date. My name is Ni Odoi Yamo from Ablekuma Central. I think you should note that down. This one here says, wow, I need this man. He says, Ghana needs this man back. This message here says, I'm surprised he's saying Paul is childish. Paul defended you, or he keeps defending you anywhere he goes. That's another message there from one of our viewers. And then this one here says, good evening to you, Prince. Please ask who started the Pokwase Temamoto. I think he's done that already. Stanley from Ahimben show in the Western North region. So on the issue of one of the messages that came through with regards to the Tuabo, area there, and then what do you know about the Keta Port too?
now let me be very quick on the issue of Paul. They shouldn't get me wrong. I was talking about Paul. No, I'm talking about Paul. Yes. You know, I'm not saying that Paul, you know, did anything bad. What I was saying that probably he at the early stages he was too excited about the new position and didn't take his time to behave like a matured manager. Oh. You understand? Yeah. Because some of the things, if he had come to us to ask, would have done it because we spoke, you know. So I'm not saying that he didn't defend. He has defended me fine, that's true. But these are, minor error because of this 15% was blown up because of the things that he kept saying. Yeah.
Anything on the Atuabo
Freeport? Yes, Atuabo Freeport came in. And yes, I was very strongly against it. Not as a port authority. Not as a port to be established in Atuabo. But the conditions for the establishment of Atuabo. Because at that time, they were saying that Atuabo port should be constructed on the condition that Takoradi port should not do the same oil business.
Right.
This was where the conflict is.
Right.
And I said, no. Go ahead, give them the authority, give them the license, we will support them. But do not stop GPHA from doing oil business in Takoradi. Then they went ahead to say that Takoradi port cannot be expanded. And went ahead, that is what they used to go ahead to get funding from ADB and all those countries, financial institutions. I came in to prove that Takoradi port, not that it can be expanded, it would be expanded. And we proceeded to expand it. You know, so, and that was far bigger than what they were going to put up in Atuabo.
Very well.
Yeah. So the Atuabo issue, I wasn't against Atuabo by the fact that it is there, but the fact that its existence is conditioned upon the fact that Takoradi port should not do oil. That one I refuse, and I still refuse.
Did you ever pen anything down?
Yes.
Whilst you were there on Keta Port?
Keta Port. Keta Port has been on the drawing boards for some reasonable length of time. A number of discussions.
For how long? Has it been on the drawing board?
Yeah, when I say drawing board, in the sense that we got to JICA some years back, I think around 2000,
yes,
to look at the entire coastline of Ghana.
Yes. And
come out with all potential areas of putting up a port. Not just Keta, but we had areas in the central and the western region. In fact, a possible third port somewhere in the central region. All of these were potential areas. Okay, Keta was first marked major fishing area. But you see, when you are building a port closer to your rival, you got to be
rival in what sense?
Togo.
Okay.
It's less than It's less than 200 meters.
Yes.
From
you have to be tactical.
You have to be tactical.
Yeah.
You have to be tactical. Then you also have to look at the traffic flow. I'm not intending to degrade that, the traffic flow. I mean, most of the industry and all that was geared towards the central part of Ghana and what have you. October will be looking at the axis to the north. Now, all of these will so our intention at that time was to take it off first from the fishing industry. Then you can then open it up gradually. I know some people came up with the issue of other minerals and other opportunities there. These were all in. But the question is, was it now or tomorrow?
I'm sure the conversation will continue some other time.
Thank you very much.
But I'm grateful, sir, for being here with us on XYZ tonight.
Thank you.
This conversation would have to continue. We'll spend another time talking about our ports, perhaps talk about the inland port as well, Buankra inland port, and many other issues.
Okay.
Thank you so much, sir,
thank you, Prince,
for being with us. And
yes,
thank you, too, for doing the watching, just as Polonzi and many others have done. Polonzi from 37 saying that, look, Prince Mika, words are inadequate to express the white side of this program. I give you a pat on the back. Thank you so much. And do make a date with Eric Ahianyo tomorrow morning on Morning Update, and catch you on Wednesday. Good night.